Hey, this is Tom Webster for Sounds Profitable for Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. A blindingly obvious opportunity for podcast revenue growth. Hey, it's me, the guy who makes bar graphs again, with another bar graph about making more money and growing the audience. Actually, you'll have to read the article this week to see the bar graph, but I'm going to do my best to describe it. I've noted in this space before that we can't really expect the reach of podcasting to continue to go up year after year, and the population figures for regular podcast consumers do appear to have hit a bit of a flat patch. However, the more encouraging figure from our latest research, the Podcast Landscape 2025, was the growth in time spent consuming podcasts, which increased from a flat 6 hours last year, or I should say an even 6 hours, to a bit over 6 hours and 20 minutes this year, which is, well, that's almost a whole show for some people. Now, this is the number I believe we can continue to drive. It's more than just a frequency metric for selling spots. It's a proxy for engagement and the importance of podcasting in people's daily lives. While the majority of Americans 18 plus classify as monthly podcast consumers, we can do a better job at converting more of those to weekly and even daily consumers of podcasting. And I've noted in the past that the ratio of trial of podcasting to regular usage, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio. So that's 50% conversion. And that's a figure that I think we can do a lot better on. Certainly that ratio for streaming TV or streaming music is higher than 50%, and there's no reason why we can't improve upon converting occasional users to daily users, and or increase the time that these consumers spend with podcasts, particularly given the audio-video flexibility of the medium. After all, you can get podcasts on pretty much any app that you use daily. So where is this growth to come from? Well, I offer this blindingly obvious stat of the weekly consumption by demographic in 2025. I mentioned it's about 6 hours and 20 minutes total per week for weekly consumers. It's 6.3 hours, I should say. Now for men, that's 6.9, 18 to 34, 6.6, and 35 to 54, 6.5. But for women, it's 5.5, nearly an hour less than the average. And for 55 plus, it's 5.6. With consumption easily exceeding 6 hours a week with men and 18 to 54, there's a huge opportunity to create a more meaningful footprint with women 55 and older. If I had 10 pennies to spend on content creation, research, and marketing, I might spend 4 or 5 of them right there. Growing that number with older women to 6 hours or more per week would unlock some really interesting averages across the board and potentially push the overall average closer to 7. 7 is a magic number. That's an hour per day, my friends. And that is often how people answer this question. If more people are answering it an hour a day, that's more people telling us that podcasting isn't just a thing they do sometimes when they're bored, but it's a thing they do. Now, as the title of this podcast alluded to, podcast revenue growth, here's where that gets paid off. As we reported earlier this year in our advertising landscape series, podcasting is the one ad-supported medium that leads in attracting attention to ads with both men and women. In fact, it's the best medium to attract attention from women, period. Furthermore, as noted in our report on attention and trust, podcasting is the most trusted ad-supported platform with Americans 55 plus in terms of the people bringing you advertising messages, significantly higher than any social media platform. And it performs at or near the very top with trust in content and advertising claims with older demographics as well. That means growing not just reach, but engagement with older women could have a force multiplier effect on overall advertising performance from the perspective of a buyer, certainly. If as an industry, we can do a better job researching, creating content for, and marketing to women over 55, and take some of their low attention media time away and shunt it into nutritious and delicious podcasts, that could make a noticeable difference in conversions and brand measures for the right brand. I do hope we get to a point in the podcast industry where we're doing as much content research as we are sales research, because that is the key to really unlocking this massive and lucrative market for podcasting. Many times in both advertising and content creation, what gets made in a vacuum is a reflection of who is in the room. So we start with the room. I do want to leave you with something more actionable, though, since you read and subscribe and share this newsletter every week, and I love you to bits. An underdeveloped category with this segment and several others is TV and film podcasts. Whether we are talking about shows featuring the creators of movies and TV, or shows about shows, or rewatch shows, the hypothetical demand for this content far outstrips the performance. There are also some other unique benefits to this category, and I'm going to unpack all of that with the assistance of Hernan Lopez of Owl & Company in next week's podcast. You remember Hernan as the founder of Wondery, and he's doing some very intriguing work on both streaming TV and, of course, podcasts. And he and I are going to collaborate on a special on-demand webinar and report next week on the potential of TV and film podcast content. There's no registration necessary. It'll all be in the next newsletter and podcast. So like, subscribe, share, poke, caress, whatever you need to do to be back here in this space next week. Thanks for listening to this podcast, a blindingly obvious opportunity for podcast revenue growth. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Tom Webster, and I'll see you next week.